Mid-19th century Paris was tearing itself apart to build the future. The government was actively bulldozing narrow medieval neighborhoods to lay down massive, sweeping boulevards of stone and glass. But while the city streets were racing forward, the French art world was completely frozen in time. Every professional brushstroke in the country was controlled by the Académie des Beaux-Arts and its massive annual exhibition, the Salon. To get your work displayed in the Salon, you had to follow 3 unbreakable rules. First, your subject matter had to be ancient history or mythology. Second, you had to build your shadows using heavy, dark underpainting, a technique called chiaroscuro. And third, your brushstrokes had to be completely invisible, turning the painting's canvas into a flawless optical window. Adherence to these rules was absolute. If you broke them, the Salon rejected your work. And in 19th century Paris, a rejection from the Salon meant financial ruin and the immediate end of your career as a professional artist. Edouard Manet decided he didn't care about ancient Rome. He wanted to paint the modern, everyday Parisians actually walking those new boulevards. To do that, he stopped pretending his canvas was a window. Instead, he flattened out his subjects and intentionally left thick, highly visible brush marks right on the physical surface. Monet introduced a radical philosophy that fractured the Academy's foundation. He argued that an artist owes their loyalty to the physical reality of the paint and the canvas, not to a fake illusion of a 3-dimensional world. Inspired by Monet, a rogue group of artists, including Claude Monet, Pierre-Auguste Renoir, Edgar Degas, Camille Pissarro, Berthe Morisot, and Mary Cassatt, began meeting cafes to systematically dismantle the rest of the Academy's rulebook. Their escape from the dark, formal studios was triggered by chemistry. New chemically synthesized pigments gave them a bright solar palette, and the invention of the portable metal paint tube meant they could finally take those colors outside. This led to en plein air, or outdoor painting. Because the sun moves constantly, the artists were literally racing against the clock. They were forced to use rapid, coarse brushstrokes to capture the fleeting light before it disappeared. An art critic saw a hazy, quickly painted harbor scene by Monet and mocked it, calling it a mere impression rather than a finished painting. The group took the insult, printed it on their posters, and adopted it as their official name. The Impressionists completely banned black paint from their palettes. Instead, they looked to Japanese ukiyo-e woodblock prints, adopting their bold, flat colors to rethink how depth could work on the canvas. They combined this aesthetic with 19th century optical science, specifically Michel-Eugène Chevrel's theories on how complementary colors interact with the human eye. They developed a technique called optical mixing. Rather than physically blending colors into muddy browns or grays on a wooden palette, they placed small dabs of pure, unmixed color directly next to each other on the canvas. When you step back, your brain does the blending. The 2 colors optically merge in your eye, creating a surface that appears to physically vibrate with intense luminosity. By abandoning the dark, heavy underpainting of chiaroscuro, they replaced the dead illusion of shadow with the living physics of light. But their most dangerous rebellion was economic. They decided to bypass the Académie's Salon altogether and build their own market. Backed by wealthy members like Gustave Caillebotte, they financed and staged 8 independent exhibitions in Paris between 1874 and 1886. This independent financial ecosystem proved that artists could find buyers without the government's permission. It destroyed the Académie's absolute monopoly on a painter's livelihood. The Impressionists proved that a fleeting, modern moment was a worthy subject for fine art. But the tools they invented immediately opened a Pandora's box for the painters who followed them. Paul Cézanne took their bright solar palette but rejected the hazy optical effects. Instead, he used those pure pigments to build rigid, geometric structures of mountains and fruit, laying the direct physical foundation for Cubism. Georges Seurat took the concept of optical mixing and stripped away its rapid, frantic emotion, calcifying the technique into a strict mathematical system of dots known as pointillism. And artists like Paul Gauguin and Vincent van Gogh completely divorced those visible, heavy brushstrokes from physical reality. They used raw pigment and aggressive texture to project their own internal turbulence onto the canvas. The Impressionist rebellion marks the exact moment in history when art stopped trying to passively copy the physical world and began actively capturing the human sensation of experiencing it.